Fur, check. Feet, check. Ears, check. Yep, Furby all here.
Furby, each so
In 1999, the most secretive intelligence agency on Earth decided that a children's toy was a national security threat and banned it from its own headquarters. The toy cost $35. It had giant blinking eyes, it sang in a made-up language called Furbish, and that Christmas, it sat under tens of millions of trees. The National Security Agency had become convinced it was listening to them. There was just one problem with that theory. The toy could not record a single word. It had no way to capture what people said, no memory to store it, and no voice to ever play it back. The agency that intercepts the world's secret communications had been outsmarted by a battery-powered owl that couldn't understand a word anyone said. Here's what most people remember wrong about the Furby panic. They think the NSA was right to be nervous, right? That a Furby actually recorded your voice and learned to repeat what it overheard, like a tiny spy in the playroom. They think Furby learned English by listening to your family talk. And they think the toy got banned because it was genuinely, technically dangerous. All three are wrong. Furby could not record you, could not understand you, and could not learn a single word from anything you said. The most famous spy toy in history was a magic trick, and almost everyone, including the United States government, fell for it. The real story of Furby is two stories stacked on top of each other. The first is how a plush toy that couldn't record a word convinced a spy agency and the United States Navy that it was a surveillance device, a panic built entirely on a clever illusion. The second is what actually destroyed Furby, which had nothing to do with spies at all. Tiger Electronics and its parent company Hasbro sold more than 40 million of them in about 3 years, and then made the oldest mistake in the toy business. They mistook a fad for a franchise, flooded the world with more Furbies than it could ever want, and watched a $100 holiday miracle turn into bargain bin filler. This is the story of how an illusion made Furby famous, and how overproduction buried it. To understand the panic, you first have to understand the trick. Furby was created by two inventors, Dave Hampton and Caleb Chung, and released in the fall of 1998 by Tiger Electronics. It looked like a cross between an owl and a hamster, a small plush body with big rolling eyes, motorized ears, and a beak that clacked when it spoke. And speak it did. Straight out of the box, a Furby talked almost entirely in its own gibberish language, Furbish. But over the following days and weeks, it began dropping that gibberish and replacing it with English words and phrases. To a child and to a nervous adult, it looked exactly like the toy was sitting there listening, learning, and slowly picking up the language being spoken around it. It wasn't. Every Furby on Earth followed the exact same script. The English words were pre-programmed into the toy at the factory, and they were unlocked on a fixed internal timer, no matter what happened around it. A Furby locked alone in a dark closet for a week would learn precisely as much English as one sitting in the middle of a loud, chatty living room. It had no way to record speech and no memory of anything you said. It did carry a simple sound sensor. It could tell that a noise had happened, a clap, or a loud voice, but it had no idea what the noise actually was. The learning was an illusion, carefully engineered to make the toy feel alive. And it worked so well that it didn't just fool children, it fooled the United States intelligence community. But first, it became a phenomenon. When Furby hit shelves in October of 1998 at around $35, demand instantly outran supply. Parents did what parents always do in the middle of a toy craze. They lost their minds. Furbies vanished from store shelves, and a frantic resale market exploded almost overnight. The $35 toy was changing hands for over $100, and at the peak of the frenzy, reported sales climbed past $300 apiece. Tiger Electronics sold roughly 1.8 million Furbies in just those first few months. The very next year, 1999, they sold around 14 million more. Furby wasn't just a hit. It was one of the defining must-have toys of the entire decade. And that fame is precisely what put it on the government's radar. In January of 1999, the Washington Post reported that the National Security Agency, the agency responsible for the country's most sensitive electronic secrets, had issued an internal Furby alert. staff were warned not to bring the toy into Fort Meade, the NSA's headquarters. The fear was that a Furby left switched on inside a secure area might overhear classified conversations and then repeat them out loud, broadcasting state secrets in a chirpy little voice. And the NSA was not alone. The Navy moved to keep Furby out of its facilities. Rumors even spread that the toy had been barred from passenger planes, though the Federal Aviation Administration would publicly knock those down. Between a spy agency and the Navy, serious arms of the United States government had concluded that a plush mechanical owl was something to genuinely worry about. They were all reacting to a danger that did not physically exist, because the toy they were so afraid of could not do the one thing they were afraid of. Furby's own inventor, Dave Hampton, said the agencies had been sucked into the very same illusion as everyone else, the belief that Furby could hear, learn, and repeat the things said around it. The head of Tiger Electronics, Roger Schiffman, put it more bluntly. He told the press that the NSA owed Furby an apology because the toy had absolutely no ability to do any recording whatsoever. There was nothing recording words, no memory storing them, and no way to ever play them back. The most secretive agency on the planet had effectively banned a tape recorder with no tape and no recorder inside it. It remains one of the great accidental comedies of the surveillance age, the spies for once completely outwitted by a toy. But here's the part the spy story always buries. The NSA never laid a glove on Furby. The thing that actually killed it came from inside the company that made it, and it was a mistake so common in the toy business that it has practically become a law of nature. Tiger Electronics, now under the Hasbro umbrella, looked at 14 million units sold in a single year and made the fatal misread. They decided a fad was a franchise, so they made more, and then more. The factories ran flat out to chase a level of demand that, like every craze in history, was already living on borrowed time. And then the clock ran out. By late 1999 and into 2000, the magic had quietly worn off. The kids who had screamed for a Furby in 1998 had moved on to the next thing, and the shelves were now drowning in the ones nobody wanted. The toy that had resold for $300 at its peak was suddenly being shoveled into clearance bins for pocket change. More than 40 million Furbies were sold in roughly 3 years, and that staggering number is also the murder weapon. There were simply, fatally, too many of them. The same factory lines that had minted a fortune had quietly buried it in unsold owls. Production of the original wound down around the year 2000, and the first Furby era was over almost as fast as it had begun. Furby, though, didn't so much die as keep getting resurrected. In 2005, a new Emototronic Furby arrived with a more expressive face and basic voice recognition. In 2012 came a wilder version with glowing LCD eyes and a companion phone app. And in 2023, Hasbro brought Furby back yet again. This time, genuinely able to listen and respond to your voice, the exact capability the NSA had wrongly panicked about a quarter of a century earlier. Each comeback sold on nostalgia for the original craze. But none of them ever recaptured the lightning of that first holiday season, when a $35 owl that couldn't hear a thing somehow became the most wanted and most suspected toy in America. In the end, the Furby story is really a story about belief. The toy's entire success was built on convincing people it was something it wasn't. Alive, aware, quietly listening. That single illusion made children fall in love with it, made parents hand over $300 for it, and made the United States government afraid of it. The same trick that built the legend is the one that wrote the myth of the spy toy the NSA had to ban. And the boring truth sitting underneath both, that it was only ever a clever timer in a plush shell, is also the reason it fell. Once the magic wore off and the world realized the little owl was a gimmick, 40 million identical Furbies had nowhere left to go but the clearance bin. Furby was a triumph of illusion, and illusions, sooner or later, always wear off. So here's the question for the comments. Did you have a Furby growing up, and did you genuinely believe it was learning to talk by listening to you? Or did you hear the rumor that they had to be banned from government buildings and just assume, like almost everyone else did, that the little owl really was listening the whole time?